So this camera right here, I've been using it for the past weekend and I have just immensely fallen in love with what it's capable of doing. I think that its biggest strength isn't on the photo side, to be honest, but on the video. And the reason that I say this is because I'm so used to shooting in 4K and these files are absolutely massive. This camera's files are very, very small and the quality is actually very, very unique. It reminds me a lot of videos captured during childhood. Like, it just has that really nice grainy texture and the highlights look very, very blown out. And the camera really does try its best to save them. But it felt like there were a lot of magical moments being caught when I was just taking out the camera, pointing and shooting. I want to take a look at the results that I was able to get and why I love this camera so much. So let's take a look at the ergonomics, which are basically non-existent. There's absolutely no grip, but if you can find yourself a nice handle, I would highly suggest it, as the material is very, very slippery, and also, it is very, very noisy. But a major issue is this lens. A very common error that I saw going around was lens error, and that's because as it comes up, I guess dust gets trapped inside the lens, which makes it hard to retract back. And since there aren't that many buttons on it, it's easy to holster it. Feel what mode you're in because it's a physical button. Like, if it's all the way at the bottom, you know that it's in playback, so nothing's gonna record. One more click up, you know that's in video, and all the way to the top is photo. So I always knew what mode I was in, and if I did have to think about it, all I had to do was feel it. The lens quality isn't fantastic at all, but I think that's what we're drawn to. There's also the zoom at the top and the shutter release button. The zoom is just really, really funny. It's trying so hard to push through the zoom as it does backwards. The camera does claim to have image stabilization, and I think they just accidentally put it there because my footage came out extremely shaky. This is actually a very limited camera. The highest frame rate that it goes up to is to 30 FPS, but I had to bring it down to 24 FPS because that's the correct frame rate. It is only 8 megapixels, but I personally did not care. I know that a lot throughout my childhood, these pictures were definitely printed and the quality really didn't matter too much. Like, if you're just blowing it up to like an 8x10 or 4x6, which most people do print out, that's the medium, then I think most consumers will be perfectly fine. And the photo mode does come with filters. This is pre-Instagram. I didn't take any photos with them just because they were really cheesy and corny, and I feel like if you transfer this over to your phone, you'll just have way more flexibility. The camera does add quite a bit of softness to it. Like, someone just took the clarity slider and moved it all the way to the negative end. The time difference between the shutter and the release, I would say, isn't that bad. Like, there is a bit of hesitancy, but if you're able to calculate between the shutter and you pressing the button, then you should be pretty well off. This camera did not shoot in RAW, but it does let you go into manual. To me, that kind of takes a lot of the fun away, so my review didn't focus on that too much. What it did focus on a lot though was the video aspect. What I was really looking for in the camera though was the style. Like, I've been chasing the style that makes it look like my Sony Hi8 camera. And I don't know, there's something that I really, really love about that look. But I needed to be more compact and be able to transfer it over via an SD card or just plug and play. Fortunately, this camera does have an AV out, so it makes it really easy to transfer it over. But the style, I really, really love the way that it looks. It looks very vintage and cool. And people aren't intimidated from using this camera. Like, if I just hold it up on the streets, which I really did, people didn't care about it, right? Like, this, you can tell this isn't gonna be high quality and it's not an iPhone, which is connected to the cloud, right? The video does also have a macro mode, which I think I enjoy macro mode more on the video section, and also has filters, which I didn't use because, again, I can just bring it into post or throw it into VSCO and edit it as I please. I don't know if people watching this care about like the dynamic range, but it's not great, it's not fantastic, and it will always choose the sky over the shadows to a very drastic extent where it looks like there's really nothing there. I mostly noticed this during sunset, but I really didn't mind it too much. A lot of times I will recommend the best SD card just for speed, but with this one I found that my fastest SD cards were actually the worst choice. So I had to dumb down, and I'll put these down in the description below. So the ones that worked for me the best were the silver ones. Anything below 100 megabytes in reading speed, plus it couldn't be over a certain gigabyte. So don't put in 128 gigabytes into this thing because it's not gonna hook to it. And that's probably because it's just incompatibility issues. And also, these are very small details, but I just really like that the tripod mount is in the middle. I just remember so many of these cameras having the mount to the side, which just is really, really annoying. So it's a nice cherry on the top. So with the batteries though, make sure that you get some good quality ones and make sure that they're charging. The biggest enjoyment that I got from this PowerShot in particular were the file sizes. They are very, very small, making it easy to edit, and it just saves me a bunch of hard drive space. Number two, it just completely removes all of my options. With my mirrorless cameras and my iPhone, I just have a lot of options. And that can be great sometimes, but all I want to do is point, shoot, and go. And the PowerShot really has made that possible and made things just a lot more frictionless in the creative process. So let me know your thoughts down below. What do you think? Do you plan on getting yourself this PowerShot or one like it? I would love to know your thoughts down below. At the end of the day, thank you so much for your time and your attention. My name is Asmi Hangos, and I'll catch you in the next one.